Hello, I'm Lara Kulchersen and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. The race between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump reaches a critical point this week. The Vice President has been preparing for what could be her only chance to directly take on the former president, whose political dominance she's aiming to end. Tuesday night's debate is especially important for Harris, who's working to define herself in voters' eyes and keep up the momentum she's gained since becoming the Democratic nominee this summer. Trump, meanwhile, is focused on reshaping voters' views of his opponent and stopping the progress she's made since stepping into the race in July. Debate rules will keep candidates' microphones muted when it's not their turn to speak, a measure that has frustrated Harris, who would have liked to use her prosecutor skills to engage more directly with Trump. The debate comes at a critical time, just as early voting kicks off in key states. Recent polls show the race is extremely close, both nationally and in battlegrounds like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Sun Belt states such as Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina. Pennsylvania and Georgia in particular have become a major focal points for both campaigns, with polls showing no clear leader between the two.
A Sunday poll from the New York Times, Siena College, highlights the ongoing challenge for Harris. While she and Trump are neck and neck nationally, nearly 30% of voters say they still don't know enough about her. In contrast, opinions about Trump seem largely set. This presents a real challenge for Harris. The same poll shows that while most voters, around 60%, want a major change from Biden, only a quarter see Harris as that change, while over half believe Trump represents the shift they're looking for. When it comes to voters' perceptions of mental and cognitive fitness to serve as president, polls show Harris leading Trump. But despite that advantage, economic concerns, especially inflation, are pushing many voters towards Trump, who they believe is better equipped to handle those issues. Despite a wobble for Trump after Biden's exit from the race in July, recent polls show his core supporters remain loyal. In fact, the NYT poll gives Trump a slight edge, with him leading Harris by just 1 point. But with such razor-thin margins, the race remains anyone's game.
The Internet Archive faces a major legal setback in a ruling that could reshape the future of Internet history. On September 4, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit ruled against the Internet Archive, upholding an earlier decision that one of its book digitization projects violated copyright law. But before we begin, here's the backstory. Back in 1996, when the online world started to creep into our day-to-day lives, the Internet Archive began building a digital library of the Internet and other cultural artifacts of this era, offering a vast archive of web pages, books, audio records, videos, and even software. The nonprofit library was dedicated to making sure nothing on the Internet would ever get lost. The Internet Archive then began operating a system known as the Open Library, allowing users to check out digital scans of physical books. This system was built on the idea of controlled digital lending, where each digital loan corresponds to a physical book held by the library, theoretically avoiding issues of piracy.
99% of libraries in the US closed their doors when the pandemic hit, locking away approximately 650 million books. In response, the Internet Archive launched a national emergency library, ditching the waiting lists for 1.4 million books. They let multiple readers access books simultaneously, for 2 weeks at a time. The digital library was also offering 2.5 million downloadable books, which were in the public domain.
This move prompted publishers to file a lawsuit targeting both the National Emergency Library and the broader open library system.
It's a bad day for book people. Major publishers just won their suit to shut down the last option to borrow spyware-free digital books. With internet info less trustworthy than ever and book bans all over, we need sources of real, equitable, and trustworthy information. Really, we need empowered libraries and empowered librarians that we can count on. But this suit, it's given us the opposite. Because big publishing is turning into big tech, where data on readers seems like a good way to make more money. This is going to have a lot of unintended consequences, or I don't know, maybe they're intended and publishing CEOs just don't care. It's just one. The records of who reads what on apps like Libby or Hoopla are becoming honeypots for state attorney generals looking to crack down on bodily autonomy. And data on what we read, where we live, who we are can easily be sold to data brokers, who will give it to vigilantes or extortionists or scammers or so-called risk management companies who end up determining who gets a job or a loan or a lease. So readers are going to be thinking a lot more about whether or not they should read a book, whether or not that book's going to get them in trouble. This sucks for authors who want to write about diverse or controversial topics. Libraries have historically been huge customers for diverse books, but if readers are too afraid to read them, that could change.
The ruling comes at a time of growing debate over copyright law, especially the use of AI becomes more widespread. In the past 2 years, numerous copyright infringement lawsuits have been filed against AI companies for using copyrighted data to train their models, with many of the defendants also arguing fair use. With courts increasingly scrutinizing fair use claims, this case is being watched closely. The decision also highlights the Internet Archive's crucial role in digital preservation. Its Wayback Machine, which archives website snapshots, is an indispensable tool for journalists, researchers, and anyone interested in preserving Internet history. While other efforts, like those from the US Library of Congress, exist, few offer the same level of access to the public. Elon Musk's woes are not just limited to Brazil, where the platform is no longer available. Politicians worldwide have voiced their concerns about the platform ever since Musk took control 2 years ago. While he's challenging the ban in Brazil, Musk is also heading toward a major clash with the European Commission. The Commission accuses X of violating the Digital Services Act by misleading users with its blue check marks and allowing the spread of illegal content and disinformation. X is also facing similar scrutiny in the US. In August, Musk had a public dispute with British politicians after riots fueled by disinformation on the platform. As the debate intensifies over whether X should be sanctioned through fines or bans, many are questioning whether stricter controls is the right solution.
Brazil can get away with banning Twitter altogether. It would not surprise me if we see this flourishing across all these other countries who have endorsed censorship. It's easy to underestimate how much of a threat that free speech can be to those in authority. And Twitter, X, is really the last bastion where people can go online and have these fair, free and frank discussions without fearing censorship. Now, whether that's about politics or whether that's about gender or any kind of controversial policies that are coming in, materials going into schools, any controversial conversations in any other forum really are marked by censorship these days. And Twitter is one of the last forums, the last digital public square where people can hold these conversations. I think that's why X in particular is coming under so much attack, and that's why we must rally to defend it, not for X itself, not for because of the company itself, but because of it as protecting free speech. And if it's the last one, we can't let that drop too. Governments aren't going out there and saying, I want this, this, and this banned. They're saying, I want disinformation banned, I want fake news banned, and using these titles that it's easy to persuade people that are wrong and bad. But of course, if you unpack what disinformation really means, we don't know what it means at all. There's no clear boundaries around what is to be banned as disinformation or hate speech or fake news. And with fake news, sometimes fake news one day can turn out to be real news the next.
Musk's problems don't end there. Advertisers are logging off, with more than a quarter of marketers planning to reduce their ad spending on the platform in 2025. That's according to a recent survey from the market research firm Kantar. This marks the biggest recorded pullback from major global advertising platforms, reflecting deep concerns about brand safety on X. Trust in the platform has dropped to just 12%, down from 22% when Elon Musk acquired the company in 2022. Under Musk's leadership, X has been criticized for failing to curb hate speech and harmful content. This friction was further fueled by Musk's antagonistic comments toward brands concerned about hate speech on the platform. Only 4% of marketers now believe that X is a safe space for brands. To the House of Mouse now, where more details have emerged about the recent data breach. A Wall Street Journal exclusive has uncovered that not only were company secrets and strategies exposed, but so were the personal details of both customers and staff. Back in August, Disney acknowledged that they were investigating a breach involving over a terabyte of data.
Per the Wall Street Journal, we have learned that in July, over 44 million Slack messages from the Disney employees may not be the worst of it, and much more is at risk. Beyond just financial projections, sales data, theme park sales, and company strategic plans were stolen. Info such as personal details of Disney Cruise Line members, inclusive of critical info regarding passports, visas, birthplace, and contact info has been compromised.
Data breaches are all too common these days, with millions of people worldwide having their personal information leaked. While companies are ramping up their efforts to protect data, we've discovered a simple hack that could be worth trying.
We've heard of a lot of data breaches lately, but do you want to know if your password is actually compromised in these breaches? Well, here's a tip on how you can do it. Head over to Have I Been Pawned. It's a website that allows you to search across multiple data breaches to see if your email address or phone number has been exposed. I just entered my details, and as you can see, it shows my email is safe. However, if your information has been compromised, it will display where and how your data has been exposed, including which platforms were affected. If you find your data listed there, it's high time to take some precautions.
11 months into the Gaza conflict, nearly 41,000 Palestinians have been killed, and international criticism of Israel's heavy-handedness against Palestinians is intensifying. Among them is Jewish-American filmmaker Sarah Friedland. Her debut film, Familiar Touch, won an award at the Venice Film Festival. In her acceptance speech, she made her opinion clear.
As a Jewish-American artist working in a time-based medium, I must note I'm accepting this award on the 336th day of Israel's genocide in Gaza and 76th year of occupation. I believe it is our responsibility as film workers to use the institutional platforms through which we work to redress Israel's impunity on the global stage. I stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine in their struggle for liberation.
Meanwhile, Tim Burton's Beetlejuice makes a splash at the box office, raking in $110 million on its opening weekend. The sequel, arriving 36 years after the original, is now the second highest grossing movie of September. It introduces new characters, including Lydia's daughter and fiancé, though some familiar faces are missing. The Maitland couple has seemingly moved on to the afterlife, and Lydia's father's face remains unseen. Critics are praising the sequel as an improvement over the original, and fans are loving it too. TikTok is constantly giving rise to new trends, and the latest craze is called Fridgerton.
Here's my hot take on Fridgerton. Apparently it's a new popular term, Fridgerton, which is about arranging your fridge as aesthetically beautiful as Bridgerton on Netflix. Yay!
It's important to point out that this is not only a bizarre trend, but apparently an unhealthy one as well. The UK Food Standards Agency warns that using baskets for decoration can be risky, as they're hard to clean and can lead to cross-contamination with harmful bacteria. And many social media users have chimed in with their own concerns.
And on today's episode of I'm Richie Paul, I present to you Fridgerton. Yes, this is the artistic movement of decorating the inside of one's fridge like Bridgerton. Now I know you're wondering why, but that's just because you're poor. You don't have the time. You don't have the time to decant your milk into fancy glass jars. You're not cutting up tiny photographs to put them into little frames and place them inside your fridge in various different places. You're not placing your fruit and veg into baskets or organising them. You're not putting a book in the fridge. You're not placing food in ceramic bowls in all shapes and sizes with all kinds of patterns, or little tiny sculpture ornaments. You're not going to the garden and picking flowers and bushes and leaves and all manner of greenery and putting it in bowls to place inside your fridge. You're not adding ceramic swans with flowers or jewellery boxes with actual jewellery in the fridge or all manner of other decor. You strive to be this level of unemployed, but you can't. You can't even afford to stock up your fridge, let alone fridgescape. Why?
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.